Welcome to another episode of Stack Your Points. As always, I'm Matt from the Matt Clausen YouTube channel, joined by Lonnie from the Call Me Lonnie YouTube channel. Lonnie, how you doing today?
Hey, guess who's Bazak? And I know we've joked about this before, but I am really starting to believe that only Craig or I are allowed to be here at the same time. Like, we're not allowed to be here together. It's one or the other. I don't know what y'all
And then
two are doing.
February.
I don't know what y'all two are doing, but this is no longer a coincidence. but no, I'm back and it was fun. I went to Tokyo and it was great. I will be going back. I won't say it is, my most favorite city because I haven't been there. I didn't even leave the city. So I didn't even get to see the rest of Japan. I basically stayed in Tokyo the entire time. But I will probably put it easily in the top 5 favorite cities outside the US on my list now. Probably even in the top 3. It was that cool. There are some takeaways, but I'm not going to go through all of them. But I'm really tall in Tokyo.
That's got to be reason number 4 or 5. It gets to shoot all the way into the top 5.
It was just really weird because I'll be on the train and the handles hit me in the face because it's just, everybody's just averagely short there. You could just always see over top everyone. It was kind of weird getting used to that.
That's fair. We're also joined by RJ from 2 Minutes, Points, and Miles. I'm getting better. I may have gotten it wrong this time. RJ, how are you this week?
I am well. You did get it correct. Congratulations. Good job, Matt. I am also, for the first time, I think, on this podcast, not wearing Apple headphones. I still have them. They're here. I am testing out some Sony XM6s because I needed travel headphones that fold, which is a concept Apple isn't great with. Because on a plane after an hour, my ears hurt if I have my AirPods Pro in, which is just a thing with some people's ears. So I needed headphones because I'm doing a lot of traveling. So I got some Sonys and I'm quite enjoying them. So
And they have
Lonnie
a power
was right.
button.
They have a power button. I can do the thing where you just put your hand over the cup to let noise in. So if you're talking to somebody, you can just put your hand like that. You don't have to do anything wild. You can actually do things. There's the capacitive thing, so I can actually change music while I'm doing things instead of having to grab my phone or whatever. So yeah, I'm enjoying them. I don't plan to switch to a Windows or a Samsung phone anytime soon, so that part is pretty settled, but, expanding my headphone options outside of AirPods.
Fun fact, there are no Windows phones anymore.
I meant Windows computers and Samsung phones. I shortened it to have less words, and now we're adding more words.
Sorry. Just English, you're actually.
I kind of want to try the iPhone here now.
So dead and stupid.
It's supposed to be a cool.
It is, but I just kind of want to try it out. And I know
the iPhone Fold is coming, and I want it. I
don't need another folding phone, so I'm not really.
I don't have one to begin with, so for me, it's a whole different world.
I've had
Lonnie
them all.
Get them away fast enough.
Yeah,
I have.
Actually, they're the ones I normally keep. My main 2, so my OnePlus one is my travel one. This is my secondary phone when I just went to Japan when I travel. But my secondary phone, my Pixel one. Of course, my current main phone, where's it at? Is my iPhone. It's in my pocket. And so this is my second phone right now, my Pixel. And I love this. It's great. I just don't need another folding phone. I'm just not interested in another folding phone.
I'm excited that Apple is going. They're actually, from the renders, they're going more Pixel style as far as dimensions versus the Samsung
Pixel 1 styles. Yeah, the first gen Pixel.
It's Pixel 1. So I'm excited about that. My poor iPad mini. I have the 5 or the 6 iPad mini. That battery is holding on for dear life right now. So September cannot come soon enough.
I would rather have a regular iPhone and an iPad mini that, of course, is cellular connected on the side versus Apple folding phone, to be completely honest.
I am so ready for it. I cannot tell you how ready I am.
If they make a mini even 60% Pro, I'm all over it.
There is an Apple event on the 4th. So we'll find out.
We will find
That's
out.
going to be iPads.
There's
I don't think
March
it's
of
going
it-
to
gonna
have
be
the mini in it.
No.
They forget the
it's-
mini exists, so we'll see.
When they do the March event is usually some sort of education-focused event. And usually at the base level.
It's gonna be the cheap. It's gonna be the cheap MacBook. So
Oh, that too.
we know that'll be in there because they're trying to semi-replace Chromebooks and stuff.
Now, if they could do what they did with the 12-inch MacBook before and actually make it a $600 device, that would be a thing. But anyway,
Yeah, I
Welcome to
think-
Stack Your Tech.
I think it's a smart move because no matter what anyone says, as somebody that has, especially, a 13-inch M5 iPad Pro, it's not a laptop replacement. It's not. I mean, it's good if you want to check your email, watch entertainment, stream, small laptop tasks. But if you actually need a laptop, it is not that. And so instead of, Apple's favorite number, 4 digits with a comma in it, pick any 4 digits and put a comma in it. I think this is a smart move to say budget, but at the same time, even for someone like me, depending on the features of it and necessity, there is no necessity, but it could be a travel laptop. So if it's thin enough, light enough, cheap enough, and I actually need a laptop, sometimes whenever I'm anywhere, I do 2 screens. I actually carry portable monitors with me so I can have a second screen. I could do my iPad and this new MacBook as a combo setup. So there's a lot of different types of use cases, even for me, but am I going to buy it? No, because I definitely don't need it. Before it even comes out, I don't need it. I already know I don't.
that's how 90% of Apple announcements start for me. It's just, I don't need it. It's fine. And then halfway through the demonstration, due to Apple marketing, I need it.
Yeah, I'm more the former, not the latter. If I don't need it, I definitely don't need it. I know I just said I want to try the iPhone Air, but I only want to try it because it's so thin. And it would have been incredibly convenient in Japan because Japan is very phone focused right now. So ins and out of the pockets, how many places I had to tap that thing. Man, my iPhone got a workout while the Air, an absolute workout. And I'm like, oh, this would have been really easy if I had an Air. But they also have a 14-day no questions asked return policy. So when I say I'm going to try it, I am literally meaning I will try it for 13 and a half days.
Rather funny. I'm wearing my Accidental Tech Podcast hoodie today. That's just for the audio listeners. Anyhow, tech stuff aside, we usually talk about credit cards, the things that you will fund your tech purchase. But
My phone is my credit card now.
my phone has all my credit cards in it.
I mean, it's the only thing I have a Bilt card on right now because I don't have a physical one.
Do you really have a Bilt card though?
I have the idea of a Bilt card.
I think we all have an
concepts
idea.
of a Bilt card.
We all have ideas of the bill card. And we're not
I
going
got
down
one
that
today
rabbit
in the
hole.
mail, and it was already deactivated because they've sent me 4 cards. They've sent me 4 total cards. I have 3 coming to my house. One of them should be active.
See, no, they're not going to stop until your binder is full of Bilt cards.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I'm super jazzed. But hey, viewer questions.
We like
Oh.
to do that sometimes.
Let's start the show.
Do we have to? Really? Fine. I'm not sitting in this Hyatt place with literally a little light I bought. Just anyway, literally lit by one set of 50 LEDs. It's hilarious. So let's go to our first question. Our first question comes from Skatha, who asks, considering Matt has a stranglehold on Rocket, which Guardians character, this is Guardians of the Galaxy, which Guardians characters do the rest of the gang identify as? We'll leave Craig to answer in chat at some point. Check out SacredPoints.com for the Discord. But Lonnie, Guardians of the Galaxy characters, which one would you identify as?
Probably Nebula.
Okay.
Because she has went through the ringer and back and came back better on the other side of it, which is, I got stories, y'all. So yes, Nebula.
There we go. RJ?
I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot.
That's fair.
I am Groot.
You're really looking for a show title on that one.
Oh, I already have a different title. Don't worry. We're good.
I'm hoping it's binders full of Bilt cards. Anyway, so Skates, I think it's pretty safe to say that RJ is great. Yeah, Rocket's not nearly as much of a chaos agent as I would hope that he would be, but he's a pretty good chaos agent.
It depends on which movie you're looking at. He was more of a chaos agent in movie 1 in the beginning, and then he's evolved.
Yeah, he's got to have everything by the end. Who needs that? Anyway. Thanks, Gates. Our next question comes from Double Animal Fries. That's the quickest question I think we've ever answered. It comes from Double Animal Fries, who asks, how should creators walk the line between speaking in their own experience, re what setups and strategies work for them, versus inadvertently giving the impression that they are suggesting people should do the same? So how should we walk the line between I did this and this worked versus you can do this and it's going to work, I guess. Lonnie, since you have the largest following amongst us, how do you approach this in any way, shape, or form? How do you walk this line?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and flip this and say it shouldn't be the creators that walk the line. It should be the viewers or the audience that walk the line on how much between 0 and 100 they should lean into or listen to a creator. I say this myself. I've said it in my public videos. I say it in my members only videos as well. I know Double is a channel member to my channel as well, where I say, everything that you hear from these YouTube creators, including myself, take with a grain of salt. Don't just take everything we say as written in stone, including myself. It's easy for us to talk about our experiences, and I'm going to speak for me right now. It's really easy for me to talk about my experience with the cards that I got, how I use the cards that I got, my tips, tricks, hacks, loopholes that I particularly use. But I also say that doesn't mean go duplicate my wallet, because it might not work for you. One, you might not want to stay at a Conrad because it costs too much. The people, we constantly talk about the hotel credit, the FHR $200, the $250 twice a year with Chase the edits, even Bilt does one now. And it's, I don't want to do 2 nights. I don't want to do these high-end hotels because I might only get a $250 credit, but I know I'm going to spend more than $250 just to enter the hotel because they're the most expensive hotels, like FHR or the edit, for example. So that might not be your plethora. That's my plethora because, once again, I've said this openly. I'm bougie. I am bougie, and I like a room with a room in it. Haven't changed that statement, have I? So going back to walking the line, just because I say it, I'm not telling everyone to go do it. We all have different finances. I guarantee you that every single person watching this has a different amount of money in their bank account. So we are all different. I myself want to be bougie because I have done my time in the Super 8s and the Days Inn and the Holidays Inn, where now I don't have to do that anymore. I want to stay at Conrad. I want to stay at Waldorf. So that's just me. If I'm speaking for me, but that's not me inadvertently telling everyone y'all should go do it too. But my experiences and the things that I put out, the information that I put out tells you how I'm able to do it. Now, that's just one example. The other is, and I think I mentioned this in a video, I don't even remember because I pre-recorded so much in the last 2 weeks. You and I can say you could fly to Europe for 60,000 points. But if I were to say I flew to Europe on 60,000 points, you can too. We could become, Matt and RJ and I are on 2 separate sides of the country. So first off, flying to Europe, they're already 6 hours closer than I am. So 60,000 point, me saying, hey, you could do this for 60,000 points means absolutely nothing to them because they're not going to get that same deal because we're starting in 2 different locations for one. They're not going to fly from the East Coast to the West Coast to fly back across the East Coast to go to Europe. That's just, please don't do that. I don't care how many points and miles you got. That ain't worth it. That ain't where it's hot. That ain't it. Right. And so when we're putting out this information, we're only putting out information on here's what works or here's how to do something. And you're supposed to take it with a grain of salt. You're supposed to, put it in the blender or whatnot, and whatever comes out on the other side, what works for you is what you do, incorporate it for yourself. Now, there's different levels to that. One is cards and bonus categories. It's easy to say a grocery card. Everyone can go do that. Go get a grocery card, go to the grocery store. Dining portal, whatever cards you got, go find one of the dining portals that work for you and then add your cards to it. So that's two different examples, but that doesn't mean we're telling everyone to go do it. That's up to the viewer to say, is this going to work for me or not?
No, that's fair. Definitely makes sense there. And 60,000 points. Well, 60,000 points would be a better deal from the West Coast than the East Coast.
That's a hypothetical number I just threw out there. I don't know if you can
Oh,
actually
no,
do that. Oh,
No, that's
for your international airlines, probably.
poor Spirit. You just get a bunch of
Right.
RJ. How do you approach this one?
I have been pretty upfront that nobody should do what I do. You just shouldn't. I am very particular as a person. That is a fact about me, right? I am very particular. There are certain things I will do, certain things I won't do. This is also not a how-to show. We talk about the things we do. We talk about theories in credit cards. We talk about topics, things like that. We're not a 4-hour podcast or a 3-hour or whatever. And this is how you do a redemption. That's not what this show is, right? And Lonnie on his personal channel and Matt a little bit on his will talk some of it, but those are very different styles of video, right? That is a much different video as one creator telling you how to do something specific versus a show this, which is much more news and topical and sort of the theories around credit cards and our personal theories around things. So if you're watching the show to learn how to do something, probably not going to get as far as you might want. But we talk about a lot of topics that are going to point you in different directions. It's up to you. And I agree with Lonnie here. It's up to you if you want to explore them. We are not endorsing any particular points. I fly Delta. Lonnie flies United. Matt flies whatever is cheapest. JetBlue. But if he got a great deal on AA, he might take it. Right. We're also in different parts of the country. Matt and I live a couple hours away from each other, and we have radically different travel opportunities because of that. So even though he and I are in the same state, things are very, very different from us because of that. Right. So what I do as somebody out of a regional airport is going to be very different than if you live next to Atlanta or next to Philly or next to even when I was in Rhode Island. Right. That is a different airport than where I am, even though they're both technically regional airports. So I think I do agree that as a viewer, you need to understand what the topic is, right? If we're talking about how great Rove is, and yes, I'm going to bring up Rove, Matt, relax. If we're talking about how great Rove is, but you don't see the value, then just don't use it, right? Nothing we suggest on here is a go out and do it immediately. And if for some reason one of the things is go out and do this immediately, usually we're pretty explicit about that, right? We are not subtle people by nature. Nobody on this podcast, nobody who has ever been on this podcast would I describe as subtle. So you'll be able to tell. Now, other channels are different. You kind of got to figure out what their angle is. Everybody's got an angle. Angle does not mean bad, right? Everybody has a point of view. Everybody has an angle. Figure out what theirs is. Because if you follow somebody like Graz, he does a lot of road trips. He does a lot of road warrior stuff, right? He does a lot of travel that if that's your jam, he's going to get you a lot farther than me or Lonnie, where we're talking about first class. And that's not a bad thing. It's just we travel differently. So figure out what their angle is. And if you what they do and it doesn't pertain to you either, that's okay. You can watch a content creator because you're just listening to what they're saying and what they're doing. You don't have to necessarily apply it. Some of it can just be informational. So I think that there are two things going on there. One is, do I like this creator? Do I enjoy their content? Do I find it informational? The other is, should I apply this to me? And you sort of have to break those into two things and figure out, what do you want to do? And then go from there. But I think trying to conflate those two things, you watch the show and you're like, I'm going to do everything the hosts do. you're going to have the most chaotic strategy ever because the hosts don't agree on anything. I don't.
That's
Lonnie and
super
I have
facts.
IHG overlap, but Matt really doesn't. But Craig flies AA, but Lonnie flies United, and I fly Delta, and Matt flies what? There's really no overlap. We just talking about credit cards, and y'all listen. This is our entertainment time. We're just doing it together. So I think you have to separate all of the ideas, right? Separate, if you watch somebody who's doing a bunch of how-tos, that's a very specific type of thing. You can watch content and not go out and apply for things unless it's live and Matt makes raccoon hands and then I am powerless, apparently.
That's good. I've had nothing to do with that.
You know the power of the raccoon hands and you deploy it strategically.
I don't know what you're talking about. No, I do think so. I think that there are creators who walk the walk, who walk a very particular sort of walk, right? You want how-tos on redeeming this particular airline or this particular alliance or this particular set of hotels or this particular mindset for utilizing your points in this sort of way. You've got channels that can definitely do that. GeoBreeze and Julia, the way that Julia handles her how-to videos are fantastic, right? You've got folks who also will, tell you about the amazing deals that they've got. I know Rewards Masters Live. We're recording this bleeding into the 17th, but Reward Masters Live on the 15th of February was about how he views last minute deals versus long-term deals. So if you book 8-9 months out in advance, you may not get as good a deal as booking 2 or 3 weeks in advance. And if you're looking for the how-to on how to do that, and I guess maybe keep your sanity, because there are people for whom, not having an idea of what to do, not having an idea of putting their itinerary together 2 to 3 weeks out versus 6 or 7 months out, that's a whole other mindset. But there's very definitely folks who, will speak from their experience, and that's what makes them genuine for sure, as opposed to Chad most recently coined the term, or he may not have coined the term, but he's been utilizing the term theory crafting. And, I do worry that something that I do is theory craft, but then I remember, no, I just report the news. And then I tell you certain ways this could work. Maybe, possibly. Don't do what I do. But it is, as Lonnie said, sort of incumbent on you, the viewer, whether it is us viewing someone else's content, or you viewing us, or you viewing Lonnie, or you viewing me, or you viewing Chad, or anyone else in the community. They can, you can watch their experience. You can see how they did it. But that doesn't always mean that you're going to get A, the exact same deal, or B, be able to utilize the tools that they use in the exact same way. Lonnie knows the Chase Travel Portal inside and out, especially for United. And if it's not the Chase Travel Portal for United, Lonnie knows United Travel very, very well. Although that system's going to change over to JetBlue's backend, but Lonnie will still be able to navigate it relatively quickly. RJ knows Delta's portals really, really well. RJ's sort of familiar with FHR. Lonnie's sort of familiar with FHR. They're both getting more and more familiar with FHR. Lonnie will highlight FHR more than RJ will, theoretically, right?
I do enjoy booking through FHR.
Yeah. RJ, you've only done one FHR, right? Not to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I've done one. It was great.
No, then that's fair, right? They can show you how they do it, but it's also incumbent upon you, the viewer, and I'm using a royal you because this encompasses, the 3 of us on screen right now, everybody in our Discord, everybody in, the credit card community. Our experiences are going to be different than your experiences. Also, this game is played at many different tax brackets. So if you're in a higher tax bracket than somebody like Grails, who very plainly tell you what sort of how he envisions travel, which is, for him, at the end of the day, all travel has to be paid for out of not family budget. And so, you can live in a very different tax bracket where you don't care that you're going to spend $10,000 on this seat, or you can afford the $2,000 upgrade from peasant class to Alsaf or first class, or get your ticket to the Alsafwa lounge.
For $10,000, I'll sit economy. I'm not paying $10,000 If the ticket is 400 in the back and 10,000 in the front, I'm sitting in the back.
That's fair.
I understand where you're going. I'm just saying that's a really inflated number where financially, I'm not at that financially free standpoint where I'm out 10K. Cool. Cause I got to buy 3 seats, bro.
Lonnie's
Yes.
buying a car for a single
For a
flight
one-way
trip.
trip.
But we approach things from various walks of life, right? Your experience is going to be different than our experience. We can tell you our experience, and you can approach it from your experience, which comes from a very different angle. So what works for us may not always work for you, or you can look at it as, being beneath what you can do, which is fine, sort of. But, I don't necessarily think the creators have to walk the line. The line we have to walk is the line between authentic and being trustworthy to you, to you, the viewer. I have to be trustworthy to you. You have to trust what I'm saying. And why I don't do, here's this big redemption I did. I haven't had the opportunity to do that big redemption. Yes, I do redemptions. I do small ones. The hotel I'm staying at tonight was 6,500 Hyatt points. And I looked at another hotel that it was in Hilton that was 42,000 Hilton points for the night. Cash price wise, they were $30 different. So 42,000 points for a 150 for $150 a night, or 6,500 points for 140. Like, I'm gonna just use the lesser number of points. It's not amazing cent per point value, but it's a redemption. But I don't go over my big redemption wins because my big redemption wins aren't going to be nearly as impressive as others. Like, I make redemptions, yeah, but I'm not gonna toot my own horn about them because I know they don't stack in comparison to others. I have got the points to go make those big moves. I haven't had the time, the opportunity, or the whatever to make it happen. And
Also,
so,
I'm sorry, redemption videos are just self-gratification. The
Sure.
people putting out I went to Europe for the ham sandwich, it's just self-gratification. That's all you're doing. You want people to tell you you're pretty. You just do. I'm sorry, you do. It's okay. It's okay. I get it, but it's self-gratification.
but if I
Oh,
made
sorry.
that ham sandwich on YouTube and it got enough money from monetization, send me to Europe.
Then you're winning life.
Yeah, I saw this dude on IG talking about, the reason why I said Europe earlier is because of this guy. I saw him yesterday on Instagram, and he was, you can fly from the USA to Europe for 59,000 points, 60,000 points. And he was showing all these photos. One of said photos was his business class airline seat. Oh, I flew from the US to Europe on this business class thing on United, which of course my ears perked up. This is worth a listen. I'm going to allow, the remaining 30 seconds to play out. Of course, he went to point.me, did the backdoor booking and all this other stuff. And then I was like, hold on, wait a minute. That's not a United plane. It was white and gold interior. Anyone that's flown United, that ain't it. So, instant, you're a liar. Call it you what you are. You didn't fly United, dude. Period. That's not a United flight. That's not even a Star Alliance flight. And so, yeah, I took a screenshot and I, instantly started reaching out to Joe Barretto and Chad of Chad's Money Minutes. We had a good laugh about it. But yeah, you also have to realize that a lot of people, especially when it comes to redemptions, and the only reason why I'm bringing this up because RJ just did, that stuff can be so fake. You just say, this is what I did. Here's what it looks like. And then here's some photos. And all of a sudden, people start believing it. It's one of the reasons why I personally don't do that stuff, because I already know most people are going to be like, that's not real. I did it once when I booked a cruise and someone was like, that's fake. And I literally took screenshots and sent them to okay, I'm never doing this again because you guys aren't going to believe it anyway. I don't need to waste my time. So going back to Matt's point, going back to RJ's point, you got to take it with a grain of salt. Just because someone said they did it. And that dude in that little Instagram didn't even say what airport he left from. So he just said, I flew from the US. Where? There's a lot of airports. Could have been anywhere. So that type of stuff.
Yeah, what's he defining Europe as? Tenerife? the Azores. So, yeah, I think on this one, it's kind of got to go both ways. We will speak from our own experiences, but also take it from a grain of salt. And you, the viewer, should also, you know what? I don't know. I lost my train of thought there. Forget it. Forget I was saying anything there. But yeah, we're not trying to inadvertently give the impression that, we're suggesting people do these things. Even videos are just like, new shocking hack, do this now. Probably don't.
Unless it's a dining portal. There's no reason that you're not doing it.
Dining portals aside. But I found this new credit card that reverses your charges onto other credit cards. Probably a bad idea. Probably. This credit card has to be too good to be true. It probably is.
These are the only 2 cards you need. From the person that has 15 credit cards.
Yeah. Okay. You only need the Mesa card. Oops.
Just get a Mesa and a Bilt card. What could go wrong?
RJ.
Apparently, you can't even get your Bilt card, so a lot can go wrong right off the gate.
They're not even sending me the right card. They're not sending me the card I selected. That is the part that annoys me. I mean, a lot of parts of this annoy me, but that part annoys me specifically.
So I was in Japan when everything rolled over with Bilt, and I left my Bilt card here in the U.S. So I'm fine. I'll just activate it when I get home. They activated it for me. Hey, we noticed you didn't activate your card, and I got an email saying, hey, we activated your card. It's ready to use.
That's comforting.
Point of order. As the resident Wells Fargo stand around here. Point of order. If Wells Fargo had done that, the internet would be on fire right now.
I kid you not. One, because the time difference is so far off. So I wake up and I go check my Apple Wallet. And sure enough, it rolled over in my Apple Wallet. It was up and ready to go. And I'm like, I don't think y'all should do that. You don't know if I have the card. You just turn it on.
There's a Jim Gaffigan bit about people who declare people who state that they're alcoholics or something, and it's the only thing that you can sort of say, and nobody actively questions it. It's not, what, you don't have this? Why? Bill just decided, what, you're not spending money with us? Why? Do you hate spending money with us? Do you not want to spend money with us? Do you not want our 4% bill cash? Come on, we're going to turn this on for you. You need to be spending money with us. Why can't you spend money with us? Why do you hate puppies? Anyway, again, if Wells had done that, y'all would be pissed. Just pointing out minor hypocrisy. Anyway, let's move on to our next question because we went off on another tangent there.
We do that.
The show should just be renamed This Week in Tangents, except we might have to ask Will Laporte for the ability to call it that. Anyway,
I honestly think people join in for the tangents.
Yeah. All right. Our next question comes from Ganelon, who asks, several credit cards in the past gained more appreciation when they could no longer be applied to and were only available to grandfathered cardholders. For example, City Prestige, 5 times on restaurants, but considered a shell of its former self. Yeah, because the original card nearly bankrupted Citi. And Chase United Presidential Plus, low-priced United Club access, but considered expensive in an era right after lifetime lounge membership was offered. Which of today's cards would be considered lost grails if they were unobtainable to new applicants? So currently available cards that would be considered lost grails if they were unobtainable to new applicants. So cards better than down. Anyway, RJ, can you think of any?
I think the gold card. If Amex just got rid of the gold card, just said tomorrow, we're done, not doing it anymore. We're not doing 4X on anything. You get your 5X on flights, and you're gonna get. You can have the green, or the platinum. That's it. I think people would. There's already a million videos on the gold card. If they got rid of the gold card, there would be a billion videos on the gold card. That card would be mourned because nobody loves talking about the gold card, credit card YouTube. It is our catnip, and we will talk about it forever. The credit card community would also mourn the content made off with the gold card about as much as the card itself. But I think the Amex gold card would be an issue if it were to be retired. And I have one now, so yay.
Okay. That's fair. Lonnie?
I had 3. I'm down to 2 because one of them would also be the gold card. Not going to repeat RJ, but one of them will 100% be the gold card. As much as people hate on it, if it was not available tomorrow, everyone would be like, oh man, why'd they get rid of it? Very quickly. And nope, I still got mine. It'll be the I still got mine crowd, basically. But the other two of the cards I say are highly overlooked. One, United Explorer card. Easy peasy. When you really realize the value that you get out of that, especially if you do not have any type of United status. Easy peasy. That's the easy one. The other would be the IHG Premier for the same thing. I think it's a highly overlooked card, especially at a $99 annual fee value. The stuff that you get from IHG once you stay in you don't even say IHG. For us bougie folks, once you step into an Intercontinental for $99 annual fee, it is a highly overlooked card, and people I think will appreciate it more if it was no longer available.
I know Key is holding on to her $49 IHG card. They will pry it from her cold, dead hands.
I'm actually considering this year, do I want to drop it down to the Traveler card, the $0 annual fee version? Only because, not to take away from anything that I just said, but I get platinum for my CSR. So I'm going to keep that, and I'll keep the 4th night free on the $0 annual fee side. Now, the only thing is my points would eventually expire, but any activity keeps them active for 12 more months. So use the card once a year and my points would never expire. And I save $100 a year. Is that going to really lower my annual fee budget for 2026 or 2027? That $100? No, but I might as well save $100. So I'm going to contemplate that. It doesn't roll over. My annual fee doesn't roll over till summer.
No.
So I got plenty of time anyway.
And you could just purchase some points if you really had to. Worst case scenario, just do half a point per dollar.
I could just move my cards to IHG dining program, and that counts as activity as well. There's a million ways to keep those points active. Yeah. It's just the platinum is the big thing, and now I'm double dipped on platinum. One of them is a $100 card. One of them is an $800 card. Yeah. Look, do the math there, folks. That's not a good double dip financially.
No. Oh, and if you book your stays through the edit just book your stays through Chase Travel. You can keep your platinum, you can keep your points activity, you can do all. There's a million ways to do it.
Yep.
And I didn't mean half a point per dollar. Sorry. I meant half a penny a point when they do the 50% or 100% bonus on points or whatever. So, no, those are 2 pretty strong cards. 3 really strong cards across the board. The first one I'm going to throw out is a card that is actively being mourned because it doesn't carry the free night certificate anymore, and you can't spend the free night certificate anymore. That's the Hilton business card. Still a strong card, but it is not the card that everybody loved when they signed up for it. Still an incredibly strong card. Don't get me wrong. It is good at what it does. So the Hilton business is one that I would say if it went fully away, because it was a card that gives you gold status, gives you 5 times points on it, 5 times Hilton points on everything, up to 30 at Hilton. But it doesn't give you the free night certificate anymore, and you can't spend your way to the free night certificate anymore. Therefore, it is dead to you. I think that's one that we could throw onto that pile. I do think if the Wells Fargo autograph went away, it would be much more ballyhooed than it currently is. It's getting a little bit more play. Still a fantastic no annual fee card. No annual fee, transfer partner, cell phone insurance. Not amazing travel insurance, but better than most other no annual fee cards. No foreign transaction fee, anything like that. I think if that card went away and it was just left to the folks who hold on to that card, it would get much more love than it currently does. What would be the last one? Gold is a really good pull for that. Jeez.
I do occasionally say smart things on the internet.
This is true. I'm going to go over to City, and if the City Strata Premier got yanked away, I think folks would have very conflicted feelings about that, because if they made it so that the Strata Elite was the only one that got full 1-to-1 transfers, and they got rid of the City Strata Premier altogether, I think that there would be a lot of folks who would look at that and be quite perturbed that they didn't get the opportunity to get it. I think City's sort of in a place where they could kind of get away with that at the moment.
City does a zombie card.
City loves zombie cards.
I talked to somebody over the weekend who was very upset that their Lowe's card was product changed. No, they were genuine. And I asked them how they do their redemptions, and they go to Walmart and they get $20 off at Walmart. I had to take my glasses off for a second.
Wait, that's right. City issued the Lowe's card before it went to American Express, and then now it's going over to Synchrony. Ugh.
Yeah, it was a moment. I felt my brain reboot during the conversation.
It is my understanding that all of City zombie cards are just called walkers. Anyway,
City Knights is actually you fighting all of the zombie cards.
find you a Sheriff Rick. Anyway, yeah. So thanks again a lot. Our next question comes from James Ragland. James asked this fun question that we'll also talk about a little bit before topics. It's sort of news related. We don't have a ton out there on it, but with American Express closing the United TravelBank loophole on the Platinum card, does it affect the Hilton Aspire as well? Real quick to answer this, and we'll go around the horn on this as well. The Aspire's language currently doesn't say explicitly incidental. So that should keep it clear. The Aspire is not nearly as well distributed and well known as the Platinum card. So, and its credit is quarterly as opposed to all in one chunk. So I think those three factors should keep the Aspire credit in the clear. But I'll ask the only Aspire holder on the panel, Lonnie, with them closing the loophole on the Platinum, does it affect the Aspire as well?
It's too early to tell. So we might need to clip this out, RJ, for a future whatever. Come back to it, if you will. So with my Platinum, I did my Platinum literally January 1st, January 2nd. So I burned that $200. So I'm in the clear for 2026. So for y'all that haven't done it yet, I'm sorry, but I'm going to go ahead and file this under I got mine. As for the Aspire, Matt had mentioned that, yes, you still get $200, but it is quarterly. And so I got my first $50 January, somewhere between January 1st and 3rd is when I put it through, got it out of the way because I was booking stuff at the beginning of the year. And so I won't be able to actually answer that question if it works or not until at least April 1st, the next time I can actually put it in for next quarter. Now, Matt did mention it's a airline credit, not an incidental airline credit, but banks are not our friend, and Amex can change that terminology whatever they want. Hopefully they don't do it before April 1st or by March 31st. So we will see. So it's impossible for me to answer that now. If you got an Aspire and you haven't used your $50 for Q1, I would say, one, try it sooner rather than later. But two, let us know. Yeah.
I know how earlier we said we don't usually do this now, but if you hold the Aspire, you may want to try doing this now.
Yeah. When Amex, so of course I was in Japan when I found out, but when Amex raised the spend requirement from 8,000 to 12,000, and I sat there and wondered how many people I should have applied for the card yesterday. Now is always a little bit better than later. 60% of the time now is better than later.
Yeah. RJ, your thoughts here?
It was an incidental credit. You found a hack. Enough people did it. The hack closed. You also had to fly United. This doesn't affect me personally at all because I don't fly United. So my thing is hooked for Delta. I wasn't buying Delta gift cards, so I wasn't using that. So for me, it's a non-story. Is the Aspire going to work? Maybe, because it's a flight credit versus an incidental credit. But the problem with the internet is people clout. How you get clout in the credit card community is to tell people how to do things. If you tell enough people how to do things, things get patched. It's code. You put in enough bug report, eventually the code is going to get fixed, right? That is the hope, at least. That is the goal.
It's built.
Unless it's built. But I think the problem is if you're doing all of these hacks and the only way these cards make sense is if you hack them, the card probably doesn't actually make sense for you, right? If your make or break point on the platinum is this credit, it's probably not the card for you. So it's going to make people reevaluate the 5th platinum they get so they can get $1,000 in travel credit every year, right? This is what happens. You have to be nimble enough in your setup that if this breaks you when your annual fee comes around, you either downgrade or close. So my guess is the Aspire is not going to have the same breakage because of the wording and because of other things, but we don't know. We don't.
I will add one thing as a actual United flyer. With that platinum credit, you don't have to fly United. You could choose any of their airlines that are in their list to use that $200 credit on. But for those that actually do fly United, myself, even though I won't be affected until 2027 on this, it's still not that big of a deal. Yes, it's $200, but when if you fly United as much as I do, you could easily burn that $200 incidentals on 15 other things. So, okay, I can't use it in TravelBank. And the one reason why I do is because they count as a TravelBank purchase when you actually buy it with cash. That TravelBank doesn't expire for 5 years. Unlike a TravelBank credit that you can get from another card or anything like that, which usually expires in 6 months or 12 months. This doesn't expire for 5 years. That's the reason why I did it. Because if I wanted to just bank it up, I could. It gave me so much freedom. But I can use it for an upgrade. I can use it for food or whatever. I don't really pay for check bags, but if needed to, if I want to buy a United Club, I don't have to do that. But if I wanted to, for those that don't have a United Black card in their house, for example, or a United Explorer card, you could use it on there and just use, that's almost, well, it's guaranteed 3 United Club entries. You can almost get 4 for $200. There's a lot of different things you can use it on that ultimately will benefit you. So
You could use it to save 25% on your United Club membership without holding on to the United Club Infinite card.
I did not know that you could buy the membership as an incidental. Not that because I haven't needed to buy the membership, but
yeah,
I did not know you could buy the membership and it would trigger that $200.
I believe I've seen data points on that one, but either way,
which is now cheaper than getting the black card because they raised the price on the black card. So
black card $695,
yeah. So that means you can basically get the membership for like $300.
Yeah, and they've got 2 levels of membership now anyway. So anyway,
yep.
So thanks, James. We're also still doing really well on time. Thanks, James, for that. We'll see what happens with the Aspire, but I don't think it's going to affect it the same way unless Amex changes language, but they could do that at any time. It's $50 a quarter. Just buy a plane ticket. Or, check some bags at an airline you don't usually fly. Have fun with it. Anyway, our last question comes from Diamond Ryce, who asks, people talk about credit card setups and ecosystems, but never the end game. What is considered your end game setup, ignoring welcome offer resets on eligibility and no lifetime language links? Does that end game include multiple transferable ecosystems or one single one, etc.? So what does your end game setup look like? You're done with the exception of, as I said, welcome offer resets and no lifetime language offers. RJ, feels like you're getting close to yours, so we'll start with you.
I have no fucking idea. I'm in my mid-30s. Hopefully I have 45 more years of life left. I don't know what credit cards are going to look like in 45 years. I don't know. The thing about an end game, probably. The thing about credit cards is they're changing. The U.S. Altitude Reserve was a lot of people's end game. How'd that work out? I don't know what it's going to look like. I cannot make an end game 30 years before, right? I can't. I can make a stepping stone. I can make a pit stop, but I can't make an end game. I don't know what it's going to look like. I just functionally can't do that. Now, am I getting to the point where I have a core setup that is very unlikely to change as long as those cards stay relatively the same. Yes, that I have, but that's not an end game, right? It's not. I think the concept of an end game is flawed in something that is as shifting as credit cards, because the terms change. We just talked about the platinum incidental thing, right? If you were using that and now you can't, and the reason that I think everybody is pointing out United is because of TravelBank, where most most airlines don't have something on TravelBank in the same way, right? So if that was part of your end game strategy, your strategy has to change, right? That's constantly what happens. Annual fees go up, credits change. The Saks credit is going to change on the platinum because Saks is kind of going out of business. Now, is that credit going to change people's math on the platinum? Probably not, but it still is a change, right? There's constant evolution. There's constant. If your local airport goes out of business, depending on where you are, or an airline pulls out, right? If Delta pulled out of my airport, it wouldn't matter if I had the perfect setup. I no longer have the perfect setup. So I think having an end game is a myth we all tell each other to make ourselves feel better. It's more a pit stop. It's more a stepping stone until the next thing changes. It's a save point in a video game.
All right. Lonnie, your thoughts here?
So when it comes to end game, I think the terminology is used more so as what is left versus end game being you don't need anything else. And for me, I'm kind of on the latter of that side. Is I see my end game as I don't need anything else. I've said this before. I'm basically in my end game for the same reason that RJ had just mentioned. I don't need another card right now. Now, that doesn't mean that something could change and then, a new card could come out or a current card I have could change, that it changes in a way that's no longer beneficial for me. And then that would change some things. But for me, end game is I don't need another card. I'm not just going to go apply for a card for the sake of applying for a card. Like I just mentioned, I'm probably going to downgrade my IHG card. I don't need it. It falls under I don't need anything else because I'm not losing any perks or benefits from my IHG card. Yes, the bonus categories, but that's about it. But I got other cards that have those same bonus categories. So I'm not really losing anything except for $99 annual fee, but I'm keeping all the benefits. So end game for me is kind of start stripping away. Now, to go to your question, when it comes down to the ecosystems, I don't see my ecosystems ever changing. Once again, I'm going to be completely transparent because I mentioned this before. A few changes, as I had just mentioned, Amex could change one thing, Chase could change one thing. If Amex changed just one thing and I got the green card, I would no longer need Chase. I've mentioned that before. If Chase changes one thing, I could completely get rid of all my Amex. Well, my Amex charge cards, if you will. Potentially. Well, because, yes, Matt, I see your confusion, but FHR, the edit, that type of stuff, I could supplement in either of the two ecosystems, even though I hit FHR more than the edit. Not gonna lie.
No, blanking on what it is that Chase can do to get you back in 1000% with them.
All right, we'll come back to that later. That's a tangent on a tangent.
Yes.
RJ would kill us with that one. RJ would absolutely
fine.
RJ would reach through the screen and strangle us both
And rip your soul from you.
But you see the point that I'm making is that when it comes down to the ecosystems, I found out a long time ago that the ecosystems that worked for me are going to work for me long term. And I've just always led into those ecosystems. Have they gotten better? United has gotten better. If it weren't for your United, I would never even consider getting a Bilt card because the first thing I go look for is, oh, does this transfer to United? Okay, if I ever need to bail, I know where I can bail to United. Like before even all the hotels, I know I can bail to United, or else I would have never gotten the Bilt card. Same thing with, when the edit wasn't as good as it is now, take that how you want to. One of the reasons why I got my platinum card, one, I got the $175 off, $175K offer. I was that guy. But if I wanted to stay in a Waldorf or a Conrad, I can't book those in I couldn't book those in the edit. I had to book them either directly with Hilton, which is ridiculously expensive, or I can do it with Amex. And then Amex changed and it got better for me. So I'm glad that change worked. Sorry if it didn't work for you, but it worked for me. But I say all that is because I'm not planning on leaving or changing any ecosystems. So I personally believe I'm in my end game. Going back to RJ's point, things can change. Amex just announced a change that could have or could affect me, if you will, in one small $200 category. But things could change. So it's impossible to say what exactly is the end game. But I know what works for me, and I'm going to stick with what works for me until I need to make a change, i.e., I move to a different location. If I move to Atlanta, which I'm not ever planning on doing, I might have to switch to Delta. You don't. United flies to ATL. They do. I know. I've done it. You got to take a connection, but they get there. They get there on the south side of the airport, but they get there. Anyway, end game is, to me, you just don't need anything else. And so what people talk about, I don't think there's any ultimate, this is the last card, or these are the only X amount of cards I need going forward. I think this is what works for me, and I don't need anything else right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't view Endgame as, all the cards I'm ever going to want, because no, there's cards that are potentially going to exist in the not too distant future that could work really well for me. I just need them to be announced first before I can evaluate whether or not they're going to work for me. Those being a potential premium World of Hyatt credit card. When I checked in tonight, they were, mentioning the card on file, and that, they mentioned the last 4 digits of the card. And I was like, yep. And I was holding the card in my hand because I figured I had to tap it for incidentals. And I was like, yeah, the only way it's not going to be this card is if a higher tier World of Hyatt card comes out, and I would apply for that one. The guy at the front desk had a nice little chuckle, humored me. So that was cool. But that's the only way I'm going to dive deeper into Hyatt, is if that card can work for me. I could ditch out of the Hilton card that I have, go back down to the Hilton Honors, or, there could be a new airline with a new credit card that completely revolutionizes the way everybody thinks about travel. That could be, insane. I don't think that's going to happen, but who knows? There's always going to be something new in the game, or there's going to be a significant change that forces you to reevaluate what did and didn't work for you. And, I'm just doing variations on a theme from both RJ and Lonnie's points already. But realistically, one, I think I'm always going to have multiple transfer ecosystems. Try to have overlapping partners, and just make sure that, if something, God forbid, ever happens and Chase was to decide, nope, you're done, I have another ecosystem that can cover an okay amount of what Chase had. And I have Hyatt, whoop-de-doo. But, I can at least make sure that I have points that have value outside of Chase. So I will always at least have some sort of multi-ecosystem setup, be it transferable currencies, or maybe just, throwing those points into a partner that I'm almost always going to have some sort of flat 2% card. I think whatever setup you end up doing, there should always be that one sort of card across the board, be it the Fidelity card, be it the Wells Fargo Active Cash, or the Citi Double Cash, or what's the other 2% card out there? There was another one. There's one from TD. There's one from PNC. I feel like I'm missing one. No, I'm not, because the Blue Business Plus, I'm not accounting the Blue Business Plus for this, because that's a business card, not a personal card. On the personal side, I think there's that, at bare minimum, the one card you should always have from the beginning of your credit card journey to the end of your credit card journey, whatever that may be. You should always have a 2% cashback earning card of some sort. It's reliable. You know what it's going to give you. You know that you have that cash. Probably by the end of my credit card journey, that flat 2% cashback is probably going to be closer to 3.5% because inflation. But we're hopefully talking decades down the road. But yeah, I don't think you're going to see... I'm not really thinking of endgame. I'm in a place where I don't need more cards at the moment, but that doesn't mean that there's not going to be cards later this year or next year or 2028 that aren't going to strike my fancy and make me want to apply for a card. Or I could move, and moving would potentially blow my entire card strategy as it is up, because I could move closer to a United specific hub. I could move to some god awful regional airport in the middle of bum freak nowhere. That would change my entire strategy. Because, if I got to rely on Spirit all the time, life would be a nightmare. Or if, realistically, Spirit's probably going to go out of business in the next 5 years or get bought by somebody. If I have to rely on Sun Country or Allegiant, they're emerging. If I have to rely on Southwest.
Spirit has a file for bankruptcy twice already.
Yeah, somebody's going to buy them in the next 5 years.
Nobody wants to buy Spirit.
Well, they want to buy the planes.
Nobody wants that hardware.
They're relatively new Airbuses with lots of miles on. Anyway, no, moving could potentially change my model setup. So don't wed yourself to the idea of endgame. Just, there are places where you're going to pause, click save, export the file out. You have that set up for that time period. There's always going to be something new. The game's always going to change. And you always got to be willing to adapt to the changes. Because if you don't adapt to the changes, you could be carrying over a $900 American Express card that did X, Y, and Z for you that no longer does Z and is getting rid of Y. So there's always that. So thanks, Diamond, for that. I was going to use this time in between questions and topics to go over the data points that are floating around about the TravelBank resetting. I do think we kind of covered a lot of that with James's question, but did we want to revisit that in any way? Lonnie, how does this affect you?
We don't need to necessarily revisit it because I kind of already answered it.
Yep.
Yes, it's not, the airline credit is still there. Well, airline incidental credit is still there. It only affects United. So if you didn't fly or not interested in flying United, didn't affect you. If you did fly United, you can use that credit somewhere else. Even as someone with status myself, I can spend $200 on other things with United and still be able to burn it. So it's a deal. It's not that big of a deal. It's more of that kind of sucks than it is a big deal. And what I mean by that kind of sucks is this is how I could have used the credit and now I can't use it that way anymore. Kind of sucks. But the thing was, you're never supposed to use it that way in the first place. So not that big of a deal. I actually think one of the other larger things to kind of be aware of at the moment is the change with Amex, changing the spend requirement. Once again, it went from $6,000 to $8,000. That was $8,000 to $12,000 in your first 6 months, which is not a little bit of money. Let's just call that what it is. I don't care who you are, but not the fact that it changed, but the reason behind it. I believe Amex, especially when it comes to the platinum, is entering a thin the herd type of period where they're slowly stripping things that were more group focused out, i.e. their lounges. They're building more of them. There's a lot of complaints. I was just in the Tokyo Haneda airport, American Express Lounge, which was packed. There were so many seats with the reserve black card on there that they actually had to take some of those off because there were so many people in there. And then while there, we're bumping the spend requirement up to 12K. And I'm like, yeah, I see they're following United's playbook of when there's too many of the 1Ks, we got to find a way to thin that. And I think Amex is doing that. And I think some of these changes coming to Platinum are just the beginning of thinning the herd.
I do have another idea for Amex on that one. Maybe tighten up your underwriting.
The thing with changing underwriting, though, is there are state requirements, there are reporting requirements, and it takes time. It fundamentally takes time.
The best time to have started that was yesterday. The second best time is now.
But here's the thing. We don't know they haven't already filed with the state to change their underwriting. We don't know. We're not going to know that. That's not a reportable thing.
Yeah. It just shouldn't be as easy to get as it seems to be at the moment.
I mean, I want the herd to thin so when I go into lounges, they're less packed. That'd be great. But also, it's a credit card. If you can get it, okay, it's not a contest. I don't get more morals for having a platinum. I don't get brownie
But
points.
no, but going back to it's a credit card, that alone is pay to play. Just that it's a credit card means it's pay to play. And considering, especially Amex's lounges, but Amex Platinum specifically, don't forget Amex has a black card, y'all. That is 100% pay to play. And that entry fee to pay, you get all the service because you paid. As of right now, they just raised the annual fee. Now they're raising the spend requirement. Let's not forget the annual fee raise, folks. It didn't start with $12K spend requirement. It didn't start with $895 annual fee. I think it started with the $695 annual fee. Then they did the $175, the $150 subs. Where are those at? Come on, y'all are on Reddit. Where are those at? Because everyone else on Reddit's only getting 50 to 80. So where are those at? I honestly think they're trying to thin the herd from people applying and people that have the card because the experience itself is starting to get diminished. From it could be the big ballers that, have the good amount of money, the business travelers, the corporate people, you might work at Meta/Facebook or whatnot, where they use Amex Platinum as their business cards for their employees, or at least their senior executive or executive employees, whatever you want to call it. They got it thin the herd. I think it's just too much right now. It's too much traffic. It's too much population. And so instead of going to underwriting and just completely changing the card, change how you get the card, change how you use the card. And then when it becomes too expensive, people will back out. When I lose said benefit, people will back out. Like I was just talking to my wife about taking her platinum card on a trip that she went with her sister-in-law. She was like, I don't need to because she can only get one person in the lounge, the Amex lounge. You got to spend $75K to get two people in the Amex lounge.
Yeah.
Screw that. Where's the United Club in Vegas? Oh, it's literally one hallway over. All right. So they go there. See what I'm saying? And it works. It thins the herd. I think we are in like late phase 2 of them thinning the herd. I think more changes are coming.
No, that's entirely probable for sure. I do think that they've stumbled into the cards potentially a little too easy to get. And far too many people who probably shouldn't have it. And yes, you can try and dispel them with 12,000 spend for the minimum spend requirement. You can dispel them with the $895, but there are people who are still going to pay the $895. There's still people who are going to get the card as a prestige symbol, who can still pretty easily get it and not worry about the welcome offer and not worry about the annual fee because they're going to pay the annual fee for the status symbol and they don't care about the points.
Okay, let them.
And for any of y'all that don't care about your Amex points, just drop them over into my account and they will have a good home.
We need to have a little button on Stack Your Points that if you to donate MR points, Lonnie and I will very happily take them.
Without question, I will happily take them. I would just send you the dates that I want you to book for. Actually, we just skip the middleman.
There you go. We'll see what ends up happening further, but yeah. Anyway, let's jump into topics. Lonnie, your topic this week.
Sure. Actually, before we jump into that, because I was actually on IHG's website looking at a place where I might want to book, and Rakuten has 10x with IHG. So if you prepay that and use your IHG Premier card, we're looking at what? Dang, Matt, what are we looking at? 28 per dollar right there, right off the cuff.
10x like Rakuten. The card gets you 26.
Oh yeah, it gets 26. But after you check out, after everything. So yeah, that's 36 after you check out if you fully prepay. That's a pretty awesome deal, y'all. Welcome to Stack Your Points. February 2026 edition, whenever this gets uploaded. Topic for tonight. So this kind of hit me and it came up while I was in Japan, but I'm going to call it which card paralysis. And I wanted to know if anyone else ever experiences. So which card paralysis is when you need to swipe a card, but you just don't know which card to use because they're all good options. And what I mean by that, it could be for a bonus category. And I'm going to give you an example of how this affected me. But what points do you need? Which credit can you use, etc. And my example is specifically when it comes to dining, because who doesn't have a dining card, right? Right. And for me, it's usually my Hilton Aspire that gets 7 on dining, my Amex Gold that gets 4 on dining, or my CSR that gets 3 on dining. Those are my go-to dining cards. I even have talked about IHG again today, so might as well say I got that too for 5 on dining, right? But the reason why I'm saying this came up in Japan is because I have my Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant card that has a $25 dining credit on U.S. restaurants. So the first thing in my head is, I could use this card, but I wouldn't get my $25 credit because I'm out of the country. Amex Gold. Amex Gold is international dining. Hilton Aspire is U.S. restaurants. My CSR is global restaurants and dining. And so this triggered for me in Japan, and it's easy to do that over there. But then when I'm here in the U.S., it's, I'm going to go out to eat. I'm going to go to the mom and pop taco joint around the corner, which makes some of the best street tacos you'll probably ever eat in your life. And it's like, which card do I use? Do I use my Quest card? Do I use my Hilton card? Do I use my Gold card? And I always have this small 3 to 5 second freeze of paralysis. Does anyone else experience that? And if you do, in what way do you experience it? Matt, I'm going to jump to you first.
Yeah, so not necessarily with dining, because with dining, the only question I have to ask myself is, do I want more ultimate reward points? Yes. Do I want more Wells Fargo points? It wouldn't hurt. If I'm leaning more toward Chase, Sapphire Reserve. If I'm leaning more toward Wells Fargo, Autograph. So dining is easy.
All right, let me preface. I totally agree with you. If I need to use the card that I need to earn the points, I need more Chase points, then sure, easy question. Yeah. But what if you got enough points, you don't necessarily need the point, and you're just, what do I earn right now? There is no best answer, if you will.
Yeah, I know with those 2 cards, wherever I am in the world, it doesn't matter. Those 2 for dining specifically, I'm good. Now, other categories where we'll have more of the paralysis is a question of which do I feel earning more in, or sometimes I'll even just think about how much further can I flow, as in, when is this one due versus the other? When is this payment due versus the other payment? Because my Freedom Unlimited and my Autograph, or my Freedom Unlimited and my Active Cash, have 2 different due-by dates. And if I'm going into a more general spending category, I may ask myself, do I want to give myself a little bit more time here? Same with the Attune. So, if it's just going to be general spend, that's when I will have that 3 to 5 second pause of which card do I want to do. And usually it's between the Freedom Unlimited and the Active Cash. So that one is when I have that pause. The only other time where I'm really serious of questioning something is if I don't know how it will go on the Attune, in which case after that 2 or 3 seconds, I'm like, you know what? Worst case is I get 1%, and I will try the Attune and try to remember to go back and look at my rewards. But generally, I tend to have the category associated with the card and across all my cards. So typically I don't have to think about it I won't think about it too hard. But unless it's something, it's general spend or grocery. Do I want Wells points for grocery, or do I want Chase points for grocery? And am I willing to just eat 1.5 versus or 2 and, not care about it as much as other people will care about it? That's the only time I will have any significant analysis paralysis with it. But it's usually just between those 2 cards.
Cool. Thanks. In Japan, I rocked out on 2 cards, Quest and Aspire. That's all I needed. Got me through the entire time there, because Chase nerfed the transit category, and Quest was doing an extra 3 miles per dollar on transit while I was there, which was perfect timing, United. RJ,
going.
Hey, I'll take a bonus offer when they want to give one. I think I literally activated it on the flight there. Perfect timing. RJ, which card paralysis?
I do not typically have that. So I have a big old spreadsheet where I have first, second, and third choices for each category that I will come into contact with. If I need points in a specific category, I know which one to go for based off of that chart. If I don't, if it's just whatever, then I go with the first one. If the first one is MR and I just got my rackets in delivery and we're good, I might go to Hilton. Excuse me. Hilton or IHG, right? I've spent several hours going through everything, and I do need to update it. But I've spent several hours going through it and detailing all of that. It helps that my utility bills all go on my Cash Plus, right? Or my phone bill goes on my. So a lot of that stuff is already automated to where I don't have my Cash Plus in my digital wallet, because putting it there is just going to give me another thing to see when I pull up my digital wallet that I don't need to see. Right. So I have tried to remove some of the choice for myself to make it easier in the moment. Because for me, I really only use MR points as a transferable currency. Everything else is proprietary. So I know, hey, I need to get as many Hilton points in the next 3 months as I can. I need to get as many IHG points in the next 3 months, whatever. Those are capped, right? I either have to go hard on MR for Hilton or just go ham on the Hilton card. So for me, those decisions have already been made based on my partners. So for me, I don't really run into it just because I've spent an inordinate amount of time making sure I don't have to think about it. I used to use a bunch of apps that were, this is the best card for you to use. And I use the same card for everything all the time. I have figured this out without this app now. And I don't really have them on my phone anymore. But yeah, I sort of spent a bunch of time making sure I didn't have to do that versus sort of working through it in the moment.
I hate the apps. I absolutely hate the apps.
I really wallet flow, but then they went to a subscription model where you have to hook your cards up if you want to see spend. And I was just, no, I'm good. I've internalized my list. If worst case scenario, I have an Obsidian note, I can go look at it.
At least once a week, I get an email from one of the apps. Hey, do you want to do a ad or a sponsor video or free trial on our app? And I instantly, they're probably watching this and that SOB. But if you watch my channel, I don't do sponsorships, or at least I haven't done any yet. I only talk about stuff that I use personally. And I'm not going to start using apps. I'm going to get them personally. If they work for you, work for you. But no, thank you for that, RJ.
All right. There we go. All right. Let's go to my topic this week, and we'll close out with RJ's. So my topic this week, are we overlooking dining programs besides the ones on Reward Network?
Via the great question, Matt.
Well, Lonnie doesn't have any feelings about this at all, guys.
No, absolutely not. So is anyone on the panel using or getting any sort of value out of things Seated or InKind, or, recommending the United Dining platform more? Or would you experiment more with these if you lived in a different area? RJ, in the pre-show, you kind of hinted that it wouldn't be easy for you. So I'll start with you first.
So I live in a part of the country that isn't on a lot of dining programs. A lot of the dining programs have a lot of the same restaurants on them. Resi is the only one, and it's not really a dining program. It's just for my credit, for my Amex cards. But they're really the only one that has options where I am that aren't the same 6 restaurants that I won't go to. Not because there's anything wrong with those restaurants. It's just, I'm not going to go to a restaurant I really don't have food of to get some extra credit card points. I'm not down for that. I food too much for that, right? So for me, where I am, the only time I can really use them is if I'm traveling. And usually if I'm traveling, I'm going to use something on Resi so I can use my credits, right? So it's really difficult for me to find something that isn't just the same 6 restaurants within the 30 miles around where I live. If you get closer down to the near capital, there's more options, but I'm not traveling an hour and 15 minutes for dinner, right? Not just to a standard restaurant that's just pretty good. So I am more geo-locked in this. If I lived in the city, if I lived in Boston or Rhode Island or California or Texas or wherever where there was more options, yeah, I would probably do it quite a bit. I can't. So yeah, I looked up a couple while we were talking, and it's even the ones that aren't rewards network are all the same type of restaurants. So it just where I am, it's just really difficult.
No, that's fair. Lonnie.
So I am a huge advocate on dining programs. If you want to get extra points, it's literally one of the easiest, no hassle, set it and forget it ways to get points. There's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't at least try one or two or split your cards up. If you, for example, you got 3 different dining cards, put 1 card in each dining program and just see what happens. Now, the 2 that you had mentioned, Cedar and InKind, never touched them. I primarily live within Hilton, IHG, United. I used to do Bilt, but when Bilt nerfed their travel portal, I didn't need as many Bilt points anymore. So I don't really use Bilt as much, but the neighborhood dining that they have is also very, very good. So I'm not saying don't use it. I'm saying it. I'm just not prioritizing Bilt points, is what I'm saying. Now, it is unfortunate if you don't live in a dining program area. So don't really know how to help you there because I've never really not lived in a dining program area. But I would say to approach it in 2 different ways. First is find the right dining program for you. Go look at the list of restaurants and you might find a place. Hey, this place was around or in my neighborhood and I walk by it all the time, never tried it out. And now you can get an extra 5X. 5X to see if you like it or not. It's kind of worth it in my opinion, even if you don't hit. And actually, my favorite Thai restaurant. So when I used to live in Brooklyn, I found it because of United's dining program. It was half a block and around the corner away from where I lived in Park Slope. And I absolutely loved it. I never probably would have stopped there if it wasn't for the fact that I saw it on the dining program. And now I love Thai food because the dining program introduced me to that place. Obviously, I don't live in Brooklyn anymore, but I still go look for great Thai food. The other side of the coin is the surprise and delight, where you enter all your cards into a specific dining program. Pick one. I'm going to say United. And one day, you're traveling, you're at home, you try someplace new, and next thing you know, you get an email that, hey, you stopped at some dining program, here's some extra points. That is when I think that's the other click moment for folks to say, oh, snap, I didn't even realize that. And next thing you know, then you go look at the list and you're like, oh, I actually go to these places all the time. I'm left points on the table, miles on the table, if you will. So to your first part, which I already answered, are we overlooking them? Yes. If you're not involved in the dining program, then yes. And I think in most cases, you can add 12 cards. So if you're someone like me that has 15, guess what? You can be in 2 dining programs. You put 12 in one and the other 3 in the other, or 6 and 6, however you want it. You just can't have the same card in 2 programs. That's the only caveat, which I think is stupid, but also makes sense. So I'm not mad at it. But yes, set it and forget it. Even literally forget it. You can put your card in there and until the CVV number changes and the expiration date rolls over, you can literally forget it for that long and you might just end up getting free points because you wanted tacos or ginger chicken or something.
Yeah, it's a huge points opportunity on the airlines and the hotel side. You can, if you do it enough through those programs, you can go from earning 5 extra points per dollar to earning 8 or even 11 extra points per. I don't remember if it goes up to 11, but if you're, I want to say if your United card, I'm going to go with United for the moment, but I think this works kind of across the board. If your United card itself has a 2x dining multiplier, but then you put it into United Dining and that gives you an extra 3. That will give you 5 times dining on the Rewards Network restaurants. And then if you become a VIP inside of that, because you've dined enough to those restaurants, they'll give you an extra 3 to, depending on your VIP,
3 to 5. Yep.
3 to 5. So then you would be earning up to 7 to 11 or something like that.
Yeah.
To get that base.
And the other thing is that the reason why I say go look inside what restaurants are part of each individual program is because they're not all just mom and pop joints. Yes, I mentioned mom and pop bagels, Thai food, right? The Mexican joint that I mentioned earlier, even though, once again, I love their food and I would go there anyway, they're part of the dining program, which is a win for me. It's a win on top of a win because I would have ate there anyway, no matter what. So now it's just extra. But the reason why I say that is because I know in United's dining program, Papa John's, yes, the pizza franchise is in there. Now, I'm not big. Yeah, I'm not big on Papa John's, by the way, but in one of my old roles where I was like management and I was one of those people that bought pizza for like my team when they did a good job. It was from Papa John's for that reason. Like my son's birthday party last year, when we had a whole bunch of toddlers running around, guess what? I bought like 15 pizzas from Papa John's. Why I picked Papa John's? Because of the dining program. So it's not even just like mom and pop joint. You can find some large franchises. I know Papa John's is the only one that I know off the top of my head, but there are other large franchises in them as well. All you got to do is like, what's on the list and just go look it up. You'll see fine dining. You'll see mom and pop joints, but I guarantee you find at least one thing that you like.
But like I've noticed chains. I've noticed various other things like in some of the dining programs, but so I have to go back and redouble some of those offers. But I brought this up just because like I'm interested in InKind and it can do like 20% back at various restaurants. It looks like it's outside of Rewards Network. I stumbled across succumbed to Facebook ads for this program called Blackbird that looks interesting in New York City, and it's in some other urban areas that could be interesting. I also almost fell for the advertising for Frankie, another like cashback option for dining. They want access to your checking accounts through Plaid, and I said no. Why does a dining program need my checking account? Here's my credit card. This should be plenty. So I'm probably going to delete the Frankie app out of my phone. Check look into what they're asking for when you do your Plaid link for companies, because there's no reason a dining company or a dining rewards company should be asking for your checking account information.
And Plaid logs into your account 3 times a day. For what?
Yeah, I'm less concerned about Plaid, but
I am. I just never liked Plaid because of that. That reason alone. And then you disconnect them or, unregister, and they keep trying to, hey, we can't get into your account. Yeah, stop looking at my money.
It's easy to connect some of the accounts, but yeah, no, Plaid can be an issue for sure. But Frankie was a red flag for me that I didn't pursue any further. But I'm sort of interested in some of these other programs just to see if there's potential value there. So that's what brought it up. But Rewards Network, if you guys are watching, if any of your product people are watching, I would pay for a Rewards Network subscription that lets me put one card across a couple of different options. I would pay handsomely. Pay more if you let me do more programs. There's a whole other revenue stream that you guys aren't looking at here.
Just pull a Rakuten and be like, what currency do you want to earn?
That too. No, RJ, your topic.
So one thing I've noticed in sort of credit cards is that the more you know about credit cards and the more you sort of get deep into it and sort of chase those big redemptions, the less happy about everything you seem. It seems there is an X and a Y, and the higher you go up with knowledge, the lower you go down with happiness and enjoyment of this particular hobby. Do you think that I'm right? Is there a scale? Have too many people gone to the bad side of the scale, the dark side of the scale, if you will? Because it seems, and I'm not just talking about people being grumpy about one issue. They've gone full nihilist. And the one thing you should never do is just go full nihilist. It's just not fun for anybody. Matt, do you think there is a happiness scale in credit cards? What's your take on this?
RJ, what was the title of the show 2 weeks ago?
Oh, God. Off the top of my head, I do not remember.
Okay. The title of the show was You Can Never Catch the Dragon. Yes.
Correct.
There is there is a happiness scale, and I'm not saying that being blissfully ignorant of, what you can do with points and miles means that you're going to be happier. No, there is a certain point. I don't know if it's on an X and Y axis where the amount of fuck around that you do is directly correlated with the amount of finding out that's going to happen as you fuck around. We're nearly 2 hours deep into the show, so hi, welcome. So I do think there is sort of a happiness scale to an extent, but I don't think it's necessarily that the more you learn, the more jaded you're going to be, because that is the case with everything. You worked in sports media at the very beginning. There was a certain ideal of what sports media is. And then over time, you learned what sports media truly was. I worked on political campaigns. I had an Aaron Sorkinized idea of what political campaigns could be. Now I want all fundraising emails thrown into the sea.
Wait, are you telling me politics is not written by Aaron Sorkin? This is not season 32 of West Wing?
I would allow that man to go get back on a bender. Because at least
I would donate to the cocaine campaign.
that's the sort of copium that I need for life right now. Aaron, I'm sorry. I appreciate the work that you've done in staying with us. And I appreciate that you did other things after the West Wing. But I could really use some of that hope. Because we thought that anyway, sorry. People are going to complain about my ideology again. But there is a level of, once you gain knowledge, once you learn about the thing, once you get ingrained in whatever, be it sports media, be it politics, be it credit cards, be it YouTube creation, be it whatever, right? Oh, I know. Finances at banks. I'm going to be a banker. I'm going to make it big. And then you learn all the things that you have to do as a banker when you make it big. Or all the things that money can turn when you make it big. Or all the things that money can do to help you make it big. Be it on Wall Street, be it wherever. Yeah, I do think there is sort of a happiness scale, but I don't think that, it's necessarily tied directly to credit cards. I do think it's kind of universal. But again, you will never catch the dragon. And for a lot of folks in the game, it is once they think they've caught the dragon, and they want to experience that euphoria again and again and again, again and again. And when there's things turned off from experiencing that euphoria, small minorities get angry on the Bilt subreddit. I
have never had a feeling more addictive than being pissed off at Bilt. That is my drug of choice at the moment. And they are a hell of a dealer.
Well, they stopped dealing in bananas. They had to start dealing in extra credit cards.
Yeah, they're dealing in something. Lonnie, thoughts on the credit card happiness scale? Are people just diving in too deep, getting that knowledge, and then just becoming... People are as grumpy as they think Matt is at times, and it's just, come on, man.
I do believe there is a individual happiness scale per the individual, where depending on how they get into the game, if you just get in it naturally and organically, I kind of fell into it. I was doing flying across the country, working for, different companies that I started, went independent, started my own company or whatnot. And I was, wait a sec, I got a lot of miles and I got to go back to LA. This is when I was living in New York, and it cost me $10, $5 in taxes plus change, whatever, each way. And I'm like, yo, how do I do this again? How do I do this more often? This was awesome, right? To build literally for less than $11, I flew round trip from New York to LA and back. Versus people that are getting into credit card game. And I know there are, because I have coworkers, I have friends that are like, man, I'm getting into this now because I want to have that redemption. I don't want to pay for travel. I want to, whatever. I think that's where the happiness scale lies, is that, hey, I went and got this super expensive annual fee credit card. Where's my free trip? And that's not how it happens. Especially off of one card. It just doesn't. And so they have this perception of this is what the game is, and that you can start on day one and also redeem on day one. Well, yeah, this is awesome. And that's not how it is. And I think that's what affects the happiness scale. For those that want to put the work in, versus those that just want the quick, great redemption itself. Now, for once you're in the game, for the people that stick around long enough, no matter how you get in, my way or the latter way that I just explained, I think you stop caring about redemptions. I honestly do. I don't have a happiness scale where I'm looking for a great redemption. If I get one, sure, happily, I will take it. And then I will sleep good tonight. But at the same time, in the realistic world that I live in, is I might have to spend an extra 50,000 points to get what I want. I might have, I might want to budget 100,000 points for a flight, and it's going to come out to 200 instead because I got to buy 3 tickets, and I really want to spend 100. Where you start playing around with the dates. What if I leave on Wednesday? How much is that going to save me? Those types of things. But you kind of just know that great redemption, eventually you will get one. If you go to the gas station every day and buy the same scratcher, eventually you're going to win. Eventually. I mean, the math says eventually. Can't tell you how often. That's not financial advice, and please don't go do that. And if you do, buy all the scratchers in a row. That one visit to the gas station. Best odds, by the way. The absolute best odds, by the way. And so when it comes to that great redemption, yeah, I know eventually you're going to find one, but then on the other side, these are decent. And I think that's where personally my happiness lies, where I know I'm going to at least land somewhere decent. Do I know that, yes, I'm probably going to overspend every so often, point wise, that is? Yeah. I'm bougie. I'm not afraid to admit it. I'll book FHR, and I know that sometimes I can get a good deal in FHR, and then if I use my Amex points, I'm going to get 1 cent per point. I know that some people, that's sacrilegious, and they would never do it. But you know what? How many stamps you got in your passport? I honestly don't care because I'm going to get more points back. I know I'm going to get those points back, right? And so I can take a low redemption there if I just got a killer redemption on the airline on that same trip. Those types of things. So is there a happiness scale? Yeah, but it depends on the person and what that person wants. And has that person accepted the reality? And I think the happiness scale in the redemption aspect of it all, it's going to get, the game is changing, y'all. I don't know if y'all noticed that. The game is changing, and there's a whole new set of rules when it comes to these tips, tricks, hacks, and loopholes. It's going to get worse. That great redemption is going to get harder and harder and harder. Or just go get the deal. Straight up. Amex, Chase, United. I get emails all the time. Oh, you want to fly to Italy from Denver on Thursday at 8:40 p.m.? You can do it for 12,000 miles. And I'm like, that's the worst time and flight and trip ever. But you could do it if you wanted a great redemption. But that's probably why they're selling it that. You know what I mean? So if you can, take the deals. If you got that flexibility, take the deals. But yeah, I think happiness is more of a reality scale versus happiness, RJ. What's realistic?
To be clear, I did mean it as individual and not as a communal. So
Great.
you hit on what I was talking about.
Great. Just being realistic with this travel. And just so for anyone that's really asked, what's my foundation or barrier of judgment or entry? How much money I physically have to take up my bank account. When I cross that bridge to have to take money out my bank account, that's where I start worrying about what my redemption is. And points and miles are worth nothing until you use them. So you might as well use them first.
There's that. Yeah, I wasn't trying to be super philosophical or whatever, but
I gotcha. I thank you both. And I believe that moves us to the end.
Yeah. If I can get wherever I want to go and back without taking any extra money out of my bank account outside of the annual fees I've already paid for, that's a good redemption.
And the 520 or 560 in the United States or whatever it costs, taxes and fees was.
It just gets better after that. But don't touch my bank account. That's the whole goal. That's the whole goal in this house.
Oh, for sure. So with that, thanks y'all. We also to highlight our new members and our diamond members. If you'd like to become a member of Stack Your Points, check out stackyourpoints.com. You can join our membership that way. You can also check out Lonnie's channel through the website, my channel through the website, RJ's channel through the website. Lonnie and I both have memberships outside of Stack Your Points, so you can join those at any time. Lonnie did a members only video today highlighting no annual fee cards. his no annual fee cards, but also, no annual fee cards. Don't overlook no annual fee cards.
They are some powerful cards if you know how to use them.
I've got one that allows me to extend out points currencies for years on end using a single point, which is cool. Anyway, we highlight our new members and our diamond members as always. Our new members this week include MV, Divisible Storm 4, Gen T, Sun Nguyen, Estehan in Miami, Estee in Miami. Sorry if I mispronounced that. George Ojeda, Cam Hubbard, Jeffrey Rothman, Edwin Chung, Daniel Fernandez, Credit, Chill, and Food, SJDP1234, and our diamond members are Vincent Pond, Ragrex Hunter, Mitch528, Keith, Double Animal Fries, and Jason YT46. We appreciate your patronage. And to all of our current members, we appreciate you as well. Check out StackedPoints.com. You can also join the Stacked Points Discord, and we have little signifiers for what your status level is. With that, RJ, any final thoughts?
Baseball season has started, and I am very excited. I have hope that there will be good baseball in Boston this year.
I'm a Mets fan. I'm just waiting for them to disappoint me yet again.
It is a tradition.
It is. Maybe they could get rid of that continual disappointment by getting rid of Bobby Bonilla Day.
It will never end. They're going to extend him when there's 1 year left so they can keep the tradition alive.
Lonnie, any final thoughts?
I really do want to try this iPhone Air. I'm afraid I'm going to look after 13 and a half days. But I don't
think you're going to like it.
I don't need it after 13 and a half days.
I hear interesting things. Anyway, all right. See what happens there. Join us next week when Lonnie has an iPhone Air and is just absolutely in love. With that, we will see you guys next week. Bye for now.